Hello, the Pioneer viewers. Today, we will again share with you a report on the details that prove an analysis that the Pioneer team was right. For a long time, we have stated in our reports that the problems experienced by the Russian soldiers on the front line will gradually grow, and these problems will cause Russian soldiers to flee from the front line. Yes, we did. Russian soldiers escaped from the front line again. However, this time the incident is different because it's a very important event took place during the escape of the Russian soldiers from the front line. Ukrainian armed forces are carrying out a very violent operations on the Kherson front line in order to advance to the Crimean peninsula. These operations are important for the advance of infantry units. However, after the advance of the infantry units on the Kherson front line, there is a resistance to be encountered on the Crimean peninsula. This resistance must also be eliminated. Therefore, there are also attacks by the Ukrainian army against the Crimean peninsula. The incident in question took place during these attacks. So what is this event? Let's take a look at the developments together. As the Pioneer team, we continue our report activities on the Russian-Ukrainian war. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so as not to miss our daily map reports and reports on the agenda. I also read all your comments. Please continue to express your opinions about our content in the comments. If you're ready, here we go, the Pioneer reports. Yes, as we mentioned, there are some very critical offensive by the Ukrainian army against the Crimean peninsula. In fact, we have reported on these attacks in the past days, and we know that the Russian commanders were destroyed during these attacks. There were also allegations that Topelsky, the Russian commander in the region, was targeted both in the attacks of the Ukrainian army on the Crimean peninsula and the attacks on the Kherson front line. First of all, let's mention the following issue. In recent days, the Ukrainian army once again hit Russian targets in the Crimean peninsula. Among these targets, one of the most striking ones was the Black Sea Fleet of the Russia in the Crimean peninsula. Images of these attacks were also published. By looking at these images, we can easily say that the drone of the Ukrainian armed forces caused a great deal of damage to the Russian warship. Ukrainian military intelligence shared this said attack with the public on social media. The following statements were used in the statement in question. Our army hit the enemy's landing ships on the Crimean peninsula. After the attacks of the surface attack drones, small amphibious ships of the occupying Russian Federation was destroyed. These attacks of the Ukrainian army are quite critical. As you know, the Russian Federation wants to increase its influence in the Black Sea by permanently occupying the Crimean peninsula. This is a very critical situation for both Ukrainian and countries of the region. These attacks of the Ukrainian army on the Crimean peninsula are also critical for the future of both Ukrainian and the countries of the region. You can be absolutely sure that these attacks of the Ukrainian army are effective because after the Ukrainian army started to openly target the Russian Black Sea Fleet, the Black Sea Fleet was hijacked. I use the word hijacked quite freely because it is a fact. It is the Russian Black Sea Fleet that has been hijacked. The kidnapper is the Russian administration because the successful resistance and determination of the Kiev administration and the Ukrainian war leadership has aroused the fears of the Russian military about losing the Black Sea Fleet. According to the reports, most of the fleet has now been transferred to the Novorossiysk on the Krasnodar Krai in the southern Russia and the Russian naval forces of Bodosia on the annexed peninsula. Distance is considerable. In a sense, we can say that the Russian leadership has given up the presence of the Black Sea Fleet on the Crimean peninsula. Let us also mention that 2 landing craft on the Russian army that were destroyed. In fact, these are assault boats. In the aforementioned image, it is seen that an unmanned aerial vehicles move towards the Russian assault boats at night. These 2 assault boats are destroyed. According to the reports, we learned that the destroyed naval vessel were projected at 1176 Aqua class, a small landing craft, and project 1177 Serena class, a small landing craft. As we mentioned at the beginning of our report, the Russian army is cornered by both the Ukrainian offensive on the Kherson front line and the Ukrainian army's pressure on the Crimean peninsula. In recent days, a very critical event has taken place that proves this situation. According to the reports, a group of Russian soldiers beat their commander to death. These Russian soldiers then fled from the front line. In fact, we have seen events similar to this incident many times, but this time we are faced with an example in which all of these events have seen happened together. According to reports, the soldiers of the 20th Motorized Rifle Division had been planning to escape from the front line for a long time. Of course, this information is provided to us by Ukrainian intelligence. However, in order to escape, there had to be disturbance at the headquarters. These soldiers choose the Russian Colonel Musurbekov as their target. They were going to use him as a distraction. Musurbekov would distract the attention at the headquarters so that the Russian soldiers could escape. Of course, it should be noted that his information is allegations. However, the Russian soldiers used a quite different method while using the Musurbekov as a distraction. Colonel Musurbekov was beaten to death by soldiers who were going to escape from the headquarters. After this incident, the Russian soldiers got what they wanted. The Russian soldiers beat Musurbekov and led him aside. Were watching the incident. When Musurbekov's absence was noticed, the soldiers at the headquarters started looking for him. He was later found seriously wounded far away from the headquarters. The Russian soldiers who wanted to desert created the chaos they wanted. During this chaos, the deserter soldiers took off their military clothes and put on civilian clothes. Then he quickly escaped from the headquarters. It is estimated that Russian soldiers leaving the base in the Akhmetsket region fled to the Krasnodar. When the cameras at the base were analyzed, it was understood that a group of soldiers beat Musurbekov and fled. Currently, law enforcement agencies in Russia are conducting a large-scale investigation. It is rumored that an arrest warrant has been issued for fugitive Russian soldiers. If these soldiers had only deserted, maybe the situation would have been different. However, these soldiers are now also wanted for the offense of murder because the Colonel Musurbekov died in the hospital where he was hospitalized as a result of this severe wound he received. This incident created a great shock in the Russian public opinion. It is claimed by the Ukrainian intelligence sources that Russian sources were ordered not to share any information about this incident. Again, the Ukrainian General Staff states that the number of Russian soldiers fleeing the Ukrainian war has increased. It is said that the lack of equipment and morale of the Russian army, as well as the increase in the command problems, is the biggest reason for the desertion of the Russian soldiers. The Russian official sources have still not made a statement about the incident in question. So what do you think? Do you think the Black Sea Fleet issue has disturbed Russia? What are your opinions about the situation of the Ukrainian army in the Crimean peninsula? What do you think will be the consequences of the beating of the Russian commander by the Russian soldiers? Do you think more Russian soldiers will desert? Let me know in the comments. I read and care about all your comments.